All right, greetings and salutations. Look, I got a who's who today, y'all. Look, we are not doing a solo show. And look, I ain't gonna be here for a long time, but we're gonna have a great time with people who write about FAMU, talk about FAMU, set the record straight about FAMU. And y'all already know what's up. It's always gonna be one thing. It's always gonna be Fangs up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does! And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, look, you see it yourselves. The portal to success. Look, y'all got a who's who of FAMU people up here. And I had to look. They pictures were so clean, I had to steal my Kappa photo. Cause I was like, man, these jokers look Gerald clean, Brian looking clean, and look, Vaughn, look, DJ Mega Ace, he's legendary. So instead of talking about them, look, we're gonna bring them on. Look, here they are, the legends themselves. What's up, gentlemen?
What's going on, Key?
Good, Steve.
Not much,
Fangs
not
up,
much,
bro.
man. Look, we bringing these gentlemen on, and look, if y'all haven't called on, look, Vaughn, look, this is my second time with Vaughn. Vaughn did not know, and neither did I know. But St. Clair Moraine had us both on round one. Check that out tomorrow, 6 o'clock. St. Clair is a friend to all of us. So Hallelujah 95, 6 p.m. Check them out. And look, we talk a lot about FAMU athletics, but y'all make sure y'all keep the main thing the main thing. Pay attention what is going on down here in Orlando at the Board of Governors meeting. They have pretty much made it known. They are trying to take away the law school, the nursing program, and the pharmacy programs for FAMU if these scores do not go up. So be cognizant, especially if you are in the Orlando area. Pay close attention to the proximity of the law school to the new campus that Valencia and UCF built that is in really close proximity to the Amway Center. You are on prime real estate, and somebody wants it. So, you know,
That's
we're
what our
gonna put that
trustees
out
should
there.
be fighting over, Keith. That's what the trustees should be fighting about. They should be upset about this, not about the damn basketball coach. Oh, don't get me started. I'm sorry. I'm too early. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm
listen.
sorry, Keith. I'm sorry.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Brian. I'm absolutely with you. It's the banana in the tailpipe. We sitting over here, got all our energy going toward the wrong thing.
Amen. Amen.
Look, I'm with y'all. Look, as y'all notice, I'm gonna give y'all the fair forewarning for those in the comments. We are going to avoid the basketball conspiracy as much as possible, just because. Look, y'all still got news coming out. You can read what Gerald putting out. Gerald, look, between Gerald and Allison, I felt like I was there.
I did
Right.
too.
Oh my
I
goodness.
was
Gerald,
mad I wasn't recording it.
everybody was. Gerald, great A+ job on that, on your reporting that. You and Allison, I was traveling, so I wasn't able to catch it, but your Twitter feed and Allison's Twitter feed would just like blow by blow.
Hey, Vaughn, I don't know about you, but I can't remember which tweet it was that made me stop when I'm reading the tweets, and there was one. It was one of the first tweets that I saw from Gerald, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" Something just triggered me, and I was like, "Oh God, are they having some serious discussions about this?" And I'm like, "Oh hell, what is going on in Tallahassee?"
Look,
Yeah. Hopefully that situation get situated. But I think it will. I think it'll come out on the better side.
yeah, I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be coaching at FAMU fairly soonly. Look, don't forget, y'all. We got the Swingman Classic coming up. Look, this is really rare. Like, and I don't know if y'all saw. I think MLB Network did the HBCU thing. I think the last day or so where they featured Marquise Grissom. I did not know Marquise Grissom like pretty much shot the middle fingers to the major leagues to go to FAMU. Like he got drafted out of high school, was like, "Nah, I'm going to FAMU," and then got drafted again. You know, just saying World Series with the Atlanta Braves back when they was, breaking all of our hearts. You know, just saying.
Man,
y'all,
let
some
me,
But
good
he won a
stuff.
title though. He helped win a title though, Keith. Come on now. Come on, show some love
he
to the
got some,
95 squad.
yeah, he got some gold gloves and some AL CS MVP. He did his thing. If you go to the stadium, Truist Park now, 2 of his Golden Gloves are actually there on display. So it's really, really, it's beautiful. You talk about pride in orange and green. When you walk in and see his gold gloves there, it's just like, wow. Because I was in school when he was at FAM, and the thing that people don't remember is we had a 1-2 punch back then. Because another baby rattler by the name of Sean Gillum, him and Marquise would knock the cover off of that ball to the point where those houses across the street would be on alert on baseball game day, because Marquise was held on that lady's house out there in left center field. And so was Sean. Sean would pull his more to left field, but boy, they were battering them houses.
I bet you got some souvenirs. You gotta hopefully maybe she kept a couple of those balls and got them signed, or whoever.
Right. Right.
Well, part of what we're here for, y'all. Look, as y'all saw, it's called Portal to Success. And one of the things, I grew up a rattler. I ain't gonna lie. Look, I was born and bred, and I was looking at this. I pulled up an old video. I was like, I felt like I've seen Eddie Robinson before. And then I did not realize one of the Heritage Classics, whatever, was on campus. And I was like, oh snap. I was like, I definitely remember. I was like, because it was like, why are we going to a football game this time of year? But you kind of look back at it, and if y'all don't remember, man, remember when Billy Joe was bringing in these transfers and the barbershop talk? I know, Vaughn, you remember. Why are you bringing all these kids in? What's going on? He can't bring no kids in. And it quickly went away from, why are all these kids coming in, to, oh, we got a stick. And so when you kind of look back, look, Billy Joe had a little bit of success. Y'all might not be able to see the W's and L's there. Let's see, we can move it over. There you go. 86 wins, 46 losses, and 2 of them losses, as Vaughn pointed out, was, 2 of them seasons was some bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
7 postseason games.
Yeah. Coach Joe, it wasn't a matter if he was going to win. It was about how much. I mean, I remember being in the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, and they scored like 80 on South Carolina State. I was like, my goodness.
65-7. I was at that game. Wasn't a lot of us there.
But the thing about Billy Joe and his style, he had already been doing that style because he came from NAIA when Central State was NAIA, and they were by far the best black college team. And he won the black national championships because his teams were the best. Because when he was in NAIA, he was just able to grab almost any kids. Kid didn't do well at Division I level, he could bring him in. Kid was doing well at Division II, but it wasn't quite good enough for Division I, but wanted that visibility. Well, they went up to Ohio, played for Coach Billy Joe. And let me tell you, I had to play against Coach Billy Joe, and I think, I had to play against him. I think 3 times. They got us twice. Yeah. And one was pretty bad at FAM, and no, it was 2-2. It was we won 2 and they won 2, but that's how good they were. And FAMU, I'm talking about the years where we had Coach Riley had finally built a team back up to MEAC champions. So when they said they were bringing Coach Joe in, it was a surprise to everybody. I mean, it was a surprise to everybody that Billy Joe would leave Central State, where he had just dominated, and come to FAMU. But my goodness, when he got here and he started bringing in them gunslinger quarterbacks from California and getting running backs that might be on a second chance, and these big linemen and they just roll, man. And then it's a whole different show if we're going to talk about the Gulf Coast offense. That will have to take its own show. We can only mention that in passing because that was something to see.
It was. And, Gerald, you just wrote about Jaquay Nunnally in that Gulf Coast offense. So could you kind of expound upon a little bit? Like I told y'all, Brian's got someone to be quick, so they doing me a solid. So I can't hold him for too long. But can you talk a little bit about, what that was like, when you talked to him and having him explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. And just to your point of talk about getting guys that transferred in. Jaquay Nunley also told me about a guy named Andre Williams that transferred in from Clemson, and that was under Billy Joe. But just hearing Mr. Nunley just talk about his days at FAMU and being a part of that dynamic offense. And thank you, Mr. Vaughn, for passing me along that contact information. Mr. Vaughn was clutch with that one. But just hearing him talk about that, he was just saying when he first got here, like he was buried in the bench. It took injuries for him to get on the field. He said him and his teammate was squirting water on each other so they can they sweated after the first game when they took pictures. So just hearing yeah, so hearing about his experience, he said, they were putting up 48 points a game on people. So just about that shows how good that Gulf Coast offense was and how revolutionary it was. And man, I love to see FAMU bring that type of thing back. You know what I'm saying? Just to see how that would look in the present day.
And Brian, what was it like? Because weren't you on the Hill about that time? Up and around the Hill around that time during the Gulf Coast era.
Say again.
Weren't you a student during that Gulf Coast era? Bit?
Yeah.
Tell those who missed it what it was like being a student.
I was there when I came in. It was the final year of the Ken Riley era, and so going from that, and I knew of Billy Joe from coming from Indianapolis. Obviously, they had been to the Circle City Classic. They were in the Midwest. Thank goodness for Jet, because I would read the back of the Jet magazines while I'm in the barbershop, go to the sports section, and that's how I kept up on HB. And it was always something about Central State, always something, So I mean, that's how I kept up on him. And so me and my good friend Cliff Reed, man, he was from St. Louis, man. Cliff, loved that brother to death. He knew too. I mean, he loved FAMU football to death. And Cliff, man, when we knew that Coach Billy Joe was potentially coming to FAM, woo, we lived across the street in Gibbs. Hey, there was no missing a FAMU football game. Not when you lived across the street at Gibbs. There was no reason to miss a FAMU football game. So yeah, those were some exciting times, and that just made me want to, the way I paid attention to football again. You know me, I grew up in the Midwest, so I grew up around Notre Dame country, and so when you learn about the history of FAMU and the football history of FAMU, you have an appreciation, and you're like, man, we have a program that is just as storied as what I'm used to growing up around in my home state. And that brought a sense of pride. And then when I realized that other HBCUs hated us, it was on then. I realized, my cousins at Tuskegee and A&T and all these other schools, they didn't like us. Oh, it was on. It was on. I knew right then I had gone to the right school, and I was rooting for the right team.
And then you kind of think about, like, man, look at who he brought in. Honestly, you talked about Jaquay Nunley being buried on the depth chart, but you get J1 Sider. I mean, how long before the Mighty Quinn becomes quarterback? And it wasn't even an argument of if Quinn Gray would play. It was like, oh, he's not going to play. Like there was no conversation about his name because you had Patrick Bonner, who Vaughn has talked about and had on HBCU game day. You had J1 Sider, who probably should be a head coach somewhere right now, but he's at Penn State, you're cashing them checks, and I ain't mad at him. Like, you start looking all these dudes over and over, and he had a little rotation. I mean, what was it? Casey Printers. I mean, all these guys who literally came through this FAMU system, and a lot of them had pro experience and pro success, and we were complaining. Like, what do you think, Vaughn? What do you think Billy Joe would have done with this kind of access to a transfer portal?
Well, he was operating in it. I mean, I'm probably gonna miss somebody, but you talking about in that quarterback cycle: J1 Sider, Quinn Gray, Mario Allen, Oteeman Sampson, Casey Printers.
Do you know the order? That's the trick. Can you rattle off the order? Because I feel like it started with Mario. Didn't it start with Mario?
Well, the story I did an interview with Earl Holmes. I did an interview with Mario, and I did an extensive interview with Billy Joe at his home last year, and I learned a lot more about it. And so let me tell you the Earl Holmes version first. Earl swears they never practiced the Gulf Coast offense. We got down to Southern in Atlanta. They went in at halftime, and coach just turned Mario loose to just spread everybody out. We down by 21. We got to come back. We couldn't wait, and Mario just ran it like clockwork.
Yep.
And Coach Joe was like, he decided,
it's pretty good.
Heck, we can just run the 2-minute offense. He said we can run the 2-minute offense for the entire game. You know how Coach Joe, we can run the 2-minute offense for the entire game. That's how he said it in the interview. But Earl says, man, everybody giving Coach credit for the Gulf Coast offense. He said it was an accident. It only came because we were down and our offense was struggling. And they got out there, and Mario just started picking it apart, and he made that into offense. So it's real funny to hear those contrasting stories, how the defensive guy, Earl, was, and Mario and Coach Joe. So, but they all agree that that's the game that the Gulf Coast offense was born. That game, they were down to Southern and came back to win the game. But I don't know the order of the quarterbacks, but I got to do a shameless plug here, Keith. HBCU Game Day has partnered with the Florida Classic for the last couple of years and doing a series called The Road to the Florida Classic. So I'm going to give you all a heads up. This year, I would say the feature is going to be a documentary on 1997 through 2004 when Billy Joe was FAMU's head coach and Alvin Shine Wyatt was Bethune-Cookman's coach. We're talking about the Florida Classic average 68,500 over those years. 68.5 average. That's when it hit the peak year of 74, just about 74,000. And so I'll be able to delve deeper into it. And that was one of his adversaries was Wyatt. But Coach Joe really just dominated everybody he played, man. It was just... It was awful for the concession stand because everybody would be going after the band left because the game is done. It was almost like, okay, we scored 40 in the first half. The marching band did their thing. Let's go do what we do in the parking lot. Let's go get ready to go to the party tonight. The stands literally by that fourth quarter, it was empty. It really was.
Real fans. We used to say the real fans are still in the stadium in the fourth quarter. My people I hung with, we were the real fans. We weren't to go out and hang out in the parking lot. No, we were still in the seats watching the game.
And one of the cool parts, like I love that one we have on here. So he's got that connection to Coach Riley. And so sometimes we forget like Kim Riley, like he was a serviceable head coach. He was an amazing athletic director. I'll tell anybody, he is, bar none, in my opinion, the best athletic director FAMU has ever had. And I have two favorite athletic directors. One's a Rattler and the other's a Gator. And I don't like UF, but Jeremy Foley, what he did at UF, I just respect that man. What Kim Riley did at FAMU, and then you turn this to a profitable program, and you kind of figure this thing out. And then, we go the little D1 thing, and, kind of like I do what Jeff Cameron does at Florida State, and I call this kind of the lost decade. Even though Joe Taylor had some pretty good seasons, man, the end of that pre-Willie Simmons era was RUFF rough. But Willie came home, and Willie is really the prodigal son. He is the one that he was supposed to come during the Joe era.
Right. He did. No, let's change that terminology. Yeah. He came and was practicing with the team in the summer, and they were ready to go. Yep. They were ready. We had a running back that came from the University of Miami as well as a linebacker who would come with him. And Coach Joe, you talk about the transfer portal, we're talking about this, and he had another guy, I think he was like from Troy or some. He had that team loaded up, and he was ready to roll. Willie was finally getting his opportunity to be a Rattler because he graduated in 3 years because he came into college with credits because he was so smart. That's what a lot of people don't ever give Willie the credit for his smarts. Willie graduated Clemson in 3 years. because he came in with his dual enrollment classes from Quincy Shanks and the college prerequisite courses that he had taken. So he graduated in 3 years and was able to come to FAMU. He came in at end of the spring. They worked all summer. Earl, I agree with you, man. Listen, you can't quite even talk about Billy Joe. If you look at the interview I did with Billy Joe, it was a joyous interview until we mentioned that D1 move.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother series of shows.
Oh my goodness.
Me and him talked about it off the record too. He wasn't a fan of it.
Well, I'm actually going to, it's so weird because I recorded almost 2 hours with him. Then I broke down the equipment and we talked about another 2 hours. And I'm like, why did I even turn the cameras off? Mm-hmm. We had taken, we finished the interview and then sat on this couch and talked for another 2 hours. And he talks about how he was dismissed by the president, Castell Bryant, and that whole debacle and how degrading it was to him. Listen, Billy Joe, a lot of people don't know. Billy Joe was Joe Namath's running back on the Jets when they won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't even recognize how great of an athlete this guy was. He was like the rookie of the year. Billy Joe was a great pro football player. He had a great resume in college before he became a coach. He was well accomplished, and he grasped the concept of the transfer portal decades before the transfer portal came to be. He understood it. He had a transfer portal system going, and it worked. Yep. So he was 2 decades ahead of his time.
The worst part of it working though, you got to think his players had to sit out. Think about sitting out. Right. What that would have been.
Yeah, players would have to sit out a year. The transfer rules were hard back then. They were very rigid. If you transferred, you were gonna sit a year.
I think that story still needs to be, because there's still people in these HBCU spaces that still think that because you see other FCS programs moving up to FBS that somehow an HBCU can do it. And I don't know if anything has really changed over 22, 23 years since that failed attempt. And it's like, if all of that information, Vaughn and Gerald, all that information that you have, plus being able to finally get to hear from some of the administrators, or maybe even it was people who was next to the administrators who could really tell the other side of that story, I think it'd be a great cautionary tale for a lot of folks who have forgotten or didn't know, and they might pump the brakes a little bit when they run the social media to say, just because so-and-so gave a donation to a school, oh, that should be enough money. Y'all can go to move up to nah, you don't even know.
And then also conference affiliation was a huge part of this. Like, that's one of the things we kind of miss on this. Like, we all remember, like, FAMU had a partnership with a communications company. They had a partnership they were trying to get into the Sun Belt. Like, it was actually like, hey, we're looking to go into the Sun Belt. That was part of what was sold to us. And then when we were an independent that was just kind of out there, it's like, so where's the money at? And that's one of the things you can't undersell with kind of that failed experience.
It was a time that resonates for years because of not only the game losses and how it sent the program into a spiral. The financial losses put a decades long dent in moving forward. The athletic department right now, right this moment, in the budget every year, as of in the last 3 to 4 years, every year they're repaying some of the debt that was accumulated during that failed move.
Wow.
Yes.
And
to the
Gerald,
tune, I think it's about 250, at least 250,000 a year. They they have to pay into that debt that was created. It was around $8 million.
that's
And
crazy.
I don't know where it stands, but yeah, that was it was bad for several reasons, and none of the least is the financial fallout from trying to make that move. You know,
So
the big boys stay up there for a reason
they
because
stay up there and they charge.
they make barriers to entry and sustainability. And if you look at it now with what what I heard today, have y'all seen the picture from Stanford, the tall black young lady from Stanford, the softball pitcher?
No.
Oh, she's amazing. I don't know her name,
She won't be there long.
but I hear she's on the market and looking for like $500,000
From
to go
NIL.
to another college. Yeah,
Oh,
Have you
okay.
seen? Have you seen these baseball?
but she'll get it. You know why? She's gonna get it because you know why? You guaranteed to go to College World Series because nobody can hit her. Nobody. This woman has a heater and a changeup. Man, I'm telling you, look up the picture from Stanford. I gotta find her name. Incredible, and she's gonna get it. And that's the other side of the transfer portal that is different now. NIL has added a whole new, like I said before, the way NIL was released was the most irresponsible thing the NCAA has done since its inception, because it left no guidelines and it just made it the wild, wild west. And now, the reason Saban left is because it's uncontrollable. And you can't put that genie back in the bottle anymore.
Nope.
And here we are in Florida. We had to allow the high school kids to get NIL now. So it's no more amateur sports anymore. After a while, it's going to be little leagues going to be getting NIL and tumbling tots and everybody else.
When you see me out recruiting at Little League fields, and you know the game in the thing.
Right. We know what it is. We know what it is.
So, and as we kind of get into Coach Simmons, and I love the fact that, especially having Vaughn and Gerald here, because y'all spend a lot of time with Coach. And Brian, he's been on ONG quite a few times. And we all kind of talk about the end, whatever. But Gerald, and you got a lot of this. Could you speak to some of the respect that he showed just to like FAMU as a program, just the history of FAMU?
Yo, well, actually, first of all, let me go and say I just talked to Coach Simmons on what today is, Tuesday. I just talked on Tuesday. I got a story coming out tomorrow. Y'all be on the lookout. I ain't giving no more details. The shameless plug. But yeah, Coach Simmons, he really respected the program just off of the fact he's a hometown kid. That's why I say he loved it so much, because he had a personal connection. He got family. He said like all his siblings went to FAMU except for him.
Mm-hmm.
His mother went to FAMU. So he just had that innate respect that you usually don't see coaches have. It just really was in his heart. And on top of that, he tried to play here. Like when you was talking about when he was coming here, Keith, it's a whole pitch out there, Coach Simmons, with his headshot, with his FAMU jersey on. He got his head twisted up and all that. Young Coach Simmons. But he showed a lot of love to the program. And I think when he came here and got the job, that predates me, I think when he came here and got the job, he moved very thoroughly. And it was something that meant a lot to him to really build this program up. And I think when they won that Celebration Bowl and you see him crying and all of that, I think everything just culminated in that moment. It was like, this was a place that I tried to be 20 years ago to play football and be part of a winning program. And now 20 years later, here I am in Atlanta raising the Black College trophy. And, we back, baby.
Well, you share a little bit too, because you're another one where, look, you and Coach Simmons, look, we had to wait after the SWAC championship for y'all to have y'all talk now.
Whoever put that in there, Najari Kennedy, that's her name, the young lady from Stanford. Y'all got to look up her highlights. Amazing.
Did she transfer from JMU though? Isn't that the girl who was at JMU?
No, I don't know. I've only seen her in that Stanford uniform mowing down batters. But as far as Coach Simmons, he was, and I gotta say this. This is the kind of guy Coach Simmons is. I had interns working with me while I worked at FAMU, and then after with HBCU game day. And one of the young ladies that had interned with me, at the Celebration Bowl, they don't allow you to get a one-on-one with the coach. It's just too much media there. It's unacceptable at any point. When Coach Simmons came off of the podium receiving the trophy, heading toward the locker room, he saw one of my former interns, who is now the sports reporter in Atlanta. He stopped and gave her a 3-minute one-on-one interview before he went in the locker room. I mean, just unprecedented that he understood that he won, so it was a golden interview, that he stopped and gave it to her, and I was just proud because he has that much respect for the university, the students, the history of the students, and all of that. So that's an example of him understanding where he was. Before the Celebration Bowl, I did an interview with him at Jake Gaither's house, and he almost went kicking and screaming. He was like, "Man, you can't put me in a situation to be compared to Jake Gaither." I was like, "No, we're just honoring Jake being in this house." And he made sure at the beginning of that interview he was not to be compared to Jake Gaither. That it was an honor for us to be there, and it was. But it just felt right for him being in that position. I had a good feeling that he was going to win the championship. And Coach Simmons, they just didn't come any better. They just really didn't. He just came in. He was the right guy at the right time to put this program on footing. And the systems he put in place, which is why we wanted to stay in-house, the systems he put in place can set our team up for success for a long time if we continue to fund it and improve upon it. And I think Coach Colzie, Ray Domingo, that's right.
I remember that name.
I remember that name. I saw the name. I was like, oh snap!
Ray Kachuk. He was a good quarterback.
and so, in that list of quarterbacks, did I even say Pat Bonner when I mentioned those quarterbacks? Did I say Pat Bonner? I don't think I said Pat. The Mad Bomber. Man, let me tell you, Pat had the most beautiful turnover drop-in pass I've ever seen in college or pro. He could drop that thing over the shoulder, tight spiral. It would turn over almost like a punt and just drop right down softly. And it was like he go in the huddle and say, "Okay, everybody go long, everybody go deep." Because we had people like Quinn could carve up. Quinn would carve up all over them. It just seemed like Pat was throwing all go routes. So it just felt like Pat was throwing all go routes, But they would put it up in the air. I mean, coming out of the locker room, just straight up put it up, and it was exciting football.
Look, and one of the things Simmons does, honestly, and I told y'all we ain't gonna mention much about the basketball thing, but he really did get it out from the mud. Like, these players are on my roster. I'm gonna work with what I got. And you start looking, man, Bishop Bonnet was on that team.
Right.
Walk on, pretty much. Xavier Smith in the NFL now, walk on.
Right.
Isaiah Lamb, who happens to play for
Isaiah Lamb, one offer out of high school.
One offer. And happens to play for Brian's favorite team, who's quarterbacked by Newt. I had to mess a little bit there. But like, undersized defensive end, still 225 pounds in the NFL. Like, Marquise Bell, a second chance guy. Like, you start to look, and Willie Simmons, he's a program builder. I don't care what anybody says. Everywhere he's gone and been the head coach, he's rebuilt that program. He builds the stadium at Prairie View. Prairie View's football stadium is built, and Willie Simmons' imprints are left on that facility. Like, he comes to FAMU and literally, look, if you want a new stadium, hire Willie Simmons, because everywhere he's been and been the head coach, they built a new football stadium. I could be lying or I could be factual. Now, you can go check me, but I know I'm right. But like, he kind of starts it off kind of getting it out the mud, but then all of a sudden he reaches into this Billy Joe bag a little bit, and he starts doing the portal thing a little bit, and all of a sudden, y'all remember about that time when Prime came, fam, we had some transfers in, But remember those last couple seasons of the Simmons era? What does FAMU do in the transfer portal besides really just flip it? I mean, we stole Cookman's best player.
Right.
And then his first play as a Rattler, he does something that, you know, that
Right.
have you scared for Bryant.
Right.
Like
he recognizes he's a great talent evaluator. Not only just players, but coaches as well. I mean, because you got to be able to have the right kind of coaches to be able to teach up guys, even the carryovers from his first year or two, right? You weren't running them off, and it's like, hey, we got what we got. We're gonna. It almost is. It's very similar to what we've seen Coach Bridget Gordon do with her women's basketball program, right? The good coaches can sort of take that talent and give it something new while you're bringing in new and maybe even a little bit better, right? And so that's the credit to Coach Simmons. I mean, right there, and that's why I believe with the next 5 years he will be a Division I FBS head coach. It's in his DNA. He has all the tools and the skills to be able to do it. I've seen other people who were probably not even half as qualified or capable as him get those kind of jobs. And so his day is coming.
Yeah, you know what else, Brian? And staying on Simmons, the intangibles of Simmons. I'll never forget, it was either 2018, I think it was, or 2019 when Hurricane Michael hit. I think it was 2018. And we were wondering if we should even be playing against North Carolina A&T. Right. You know, we went up and they were out without power and the game during the day, and we went and won it on the last second field goal.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours of 2019. And within 24 hours of getting back on that bus trip, the team was loading up to go to Mariana to deliver water and supplies to the church in Mariana. And we had a problem. We couldn't get a bus, so he had me to drive one van of players, and he drove a van of players, and I think another coach drove a van of players, and went over. And to see our players interact there. And then another time, you know, within a week of that or 2 weeks of that, we went over to Chattahoochee. And while I was there, and I was the media director, he wanted me to kind of pull back on just going out there and saying what they were doing, because he didn't want to make it seem like it was being done for publicity. But let me tell you about when we went to Chattahoochee, and a lot of people don't know this. Chattahoochee was hit bad, and we went down into the central location of town, and the National Guard was there, Salvation Army was there, and they had a central place where they were giving the resources, and people would just drive through, and the National Guard would put the water and food in the trunks because to keep it moving and that sort of thing. When we got there, the players immediately jumped. This time we had a bus when we went to Chattahoochee. Jumped off the bus and went and started helping the National Guard. And those guys were able to take a break. And they said they hadn't had a break in 72 hours because the damage was so bad, they had no relief. They had to be the guys doing it the whole time. So for those 5 hours or so we were there, the players made the National Guard sit down, take a rest, get some water, just try to rest your nerves. And they packed the cars and this sort of thing. And the thank you that they got from the National Guard, understanding what Coach Simmons didn't want, I didn't record it at all. But that was the most heartfelt thank you I think I've ever seen, because these guys were stressed out, 72 hours straight. And if that football team hadn't come and given them that relief at that time, who knows how long straight they would have had to work. So those are the kind of things that he built into his players, and they continue to do time and time again. He never wanted that to be over publicized because they weren't doing it for that. He did it because he was a great guy and he was instilling that in his players.
Yeah, and he had that marketing background, but then also like you mentioned, when you kind of talked to him first time, he kind of gave you that eye, like, all right, But then once he kind of know you were cool, he like, all right, this person cool, you all right. But you definitely see. I think one of the things when you look at your transition from coach to coach, each coach kind of creates a culture around their program. I think with Billy Joe, it was the Gulf Coast, and it was flashy, whereas with Willie Simmons wasn't flashy. He went to business and he did the work. He said the right things. He did the right things, but he built a culture of service around his program. And one of the things you kind of look around, and Colzie's starting to try to come into his own with this when you ask about, is the aspect of letting them be students. When you talk to some of these kids and, when I remember we went to Province Council and, we see the Alpha Z kids there and I see Kendall there and I'm like, and he's looking at me like, when you cross. And I'm like, a few months ago. But, even still, he's there really in the middle of spring practice and coach is giving this student a chance to go to the Province Council for his fraternity to enjoy and to experience. And I think that's some of the things Willie Simmons really brought into his program, was that these kids became part of the community. They were more than just the kids that were orange and green. How many times did we see in the Democrat where they're reading books to students and they're going to these schools or HBCU game day and the kids are doing the right things, they're saying the right things. I had Kelvin Dean on HBCU game day. I mean HBCU ONG Strike Zone last night, and you wouldn't be able to tell me Kelvin Dean has had no media training. Like somebody didn't say.
Oh my goodness, he was phenomenal last night. He was phenomenal last night. It made me proud listening to him on ONG Strike Zone last night. It really did. To the point where I didn't say it on there. I just said it in the comments. But I immediately contacted Josh, to contact the athletic director, to find out, like, hey, what do we have to do while the ONG Strike Zone was going on, to find out what do we need to do to get this ring. And she responded that somebody is already being taken care of, because everybody was ready to donate to get this guy a ring. The last thing we needed was this brilliant young man who's talented not to have his ring. But she assured me that it's being taken care of. So,
and he wasn't looking for. He
No, he wasn't.
He was okay with going through the process. Filed the police report, and put it in God's hands. So I mean,
But us with Rattlers, that spirit goes up and say, no, this kid needs to have this ring on his finger. He earned it. He helped win that championship. And another point that I'm going to make, Key, the contrast. We talk about the similarities, but the contrast between Billy Joe and Willie Simmons. I'm going to use one example. Billy Joe had a motto: it's not the job of my team to stop my offense.
Yep.
So if you think about it, there were 30, 40 seconds left in the Celebration Bowl. We could have tacked on another touchdown. If that had been Billy Joe era, that game would have been 37-24. There's no doubt in my mind he'd have scored that other touchdown. Willie Simmons has Musa to take a knee. That's the contrast between those two. Billy Joe wanted to score until there were no more. There were all zeros on the clock. And Willie was a little conscious. He did that against. He did it often. If the game was out, what do you say, Gary Cheryl?
I say, think about the Jackson game. I thought they was about to try to put 50 on them, and they stopped at 28. I
thought Willie was gonna go for that 40.
Yeah, when they went up big, I said, oh yeah, they about to run it up on them, but they stopped. You know what I'm saying? So,
boy, if that had been Billy Joe, they'd have broke that clock down at Hard Rock Stadium. I'm telling you right now, man. Billy Joe, when he started, he said it was not his job to stop his offense.
Billy Joe had remember there were cries amongst other coaches in the MEAC back then that FAMU was purposely running up the score, trying to embarrass us. And I think it was a Broadway or Hayes? One of the
Bill Hayes at North Carolina A&T.
Oh,
He was
man.
furious.
Oh,
he was
he was
furious.
so hot. But Billy Joe didn't give two flips. He did not. He was
Nope.
like, not my job to stop my offense. It's yours.
It's not my job to stop my offense.
And Willie inherited an abject disaster. Like, we don't say that him who remains unnamed stays unnamed for a reason. But the two coaches before him, 8-16 and 8-25. So yeah. But now we get to
Okay, so
Colzie.
now I'm gonna say something that nobody has said before right now.
Uh-oh.
Alex Wood got an extremely raw deal because Alex Wood came in on literally the first time that FAMU really bore all of its sanctions. He had no spring. He had reduced scholarships even during the season. He had reduced practice times. He lost a day of practice. And the administration during that time basically just wanted FAMU to ride it out. Don't get any more violations and this, that, and other. But we're not going to try to do anything dramatic. So I gotta say this in Alex Wood's defense. He served suspensions that had nothing to do with him. It was done before he even got there. But on both of the years he was there, he had to operate under suspension, including 1 year of no spring practice whatsoever.
Mm.
So I got to say that about Alex Wood, because you just see the 1-10 and you're like, oh man, he's an awful coach. Dude, he had two hands tied behind his back. Two.
Yeah. It was,
So
he didn't know what he was walking into, did he?
No.
And you talk about he didn't even have a chance to adjust to the HBCU world, because it was the worst of a HBCU. It was a HBCU which has less resources than the places he had been, plus the suspensions.
Yeah.
And the sanctions and the reduced scholarships.
For a reason. I'm like,
and so the result is what it is. Losing to Tuskegee, the fifth quarter classic in Mobile. It's just throwing away the game to Bethune, throwing away the game to South Carolina State. And so, Brian, I don't know if I ever told you this. Gerald, here's a lesson for you. So on the SID, South Carolina State, we should have beat them. We lost the game. And I always let the coach go in his office. Some of them, Willie would shower real quick. We'll give them about 5 minutes after they talk to the team before they come into the media. So 10 minutes passed, coach in his office, Coach Wood in his office. And I knock on Coach. And he didn't answer, but I know he was in there, so his door was open. I walk in, and his head is on the desk. I'm SID, like, oh my God, what do I do now? And boy, he was like, man, this is just bad. This is just bad. So I'm like, Coach, listen, it's all good. We just gonna go in here and we're gonna be quick with the media. I'm gonna make sure they don't ask you that many questions. And we're going to go in here with the media and just get this out of the way, because we have to do it, Mm-hmm. And so I lead him in, open it up. And boy, that's when he was like, if I could get rid of them all, I'd get rid of them all. But I can't. They won't let me get rid of. I was like, but so so let me tell you what happened. This is when you talk about relationships. Allison was in there. I forgot who was there from Channel 6, and they looked at me like this, like, and nobody ever saw that footage. But boy, it was. I think it was either maybe I think St. Clair was the writer, Democrat, and he was recording, but that footage never came out, and I appreciate that. But that was a man stressed out because there was a lot put on him, and even things he didn't even know while he was head coach. So. I just want to say he's not that bad a guy that everybody makes him out to be. He's not as bad a coach as he's made out to be. He walked into the worst condition of all of those things that had happened. It fell under the terms that he was the head coach.
Yep. That's why I say he who shall remain nameless, because I make sure I don't say I don't want to say nothing bad about him because I did meet him in person and he was nice. And he recruited, actually it's funny. So my coworker's son, he recruited him and we kind of were like, yo, Doc, he going to Tennessee. He ain't coming to FAMU. You might want to recruit some of these other kids. But he wanted to see the boy. The boy went to Tennessee. So, you know what I mean? It worked out for the kid, you know. Now the last one and our current coach, look, the jury's gonna be out on Colzie, but Gerald, you seen this transfer portal? They don't know FAMU nothing. I believe we have am I right? I said it looked like we just set a record.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more. It got to be more transfers than last year. But I think also FAMU has the most FBS to FCS transfers in. So I mean, hopefully they can come. Hopefully you can kind of plug and play those guys in. But I mean, that just goes to show that guys that's on the FBS level, it takes I guess humility, I guess I'd say, for you to say, all right, I'm gonna drop from FBS to FCS. But it's like when you're gonna make that drop, you want to go to a place that's respectable, a place that's known for winning. So I mean, FAMU has become a destination just off of the last 5 years of how fresh off a Celebration Bowl. Yes, FAMU is trying to repeat for the championship, but it's also like these guys are trying to come in and get their first one. A lot of these guys that transfer, it's a very new team. Like when we came in 2023, we knew what to expect from the team because the Moosas, the Majors, the Terrell Jennings, all of those guys were coming back. So we knew what to expect. This team, you don't really know what to expect, but man, he's brought in a quality recruiting class. Luckily, some of those guys that Simmons brought in before he left stuck and stayed, and they like, this is where I want to be. I'm not leaving. So I think it's gonna make for an interesting season. I'm excited to see like how these position battles line up with the guys that were here and the new guys that's coming in. I think it's gonna make for a very good training camp, and I think we're going to see a lot of players play at the beginning of the season to see who's really that mix, the right mix for FAMU to be successful in 2024.
So, and Brian, I know you got to cut out in a minute, man. You want to jump in before you head out and make sure, you let them know where to see you, where you're going to be at, let everybody know all the stuff to follow Coach Brian at.
Well, as always, I appreciate the time to come on. We do. I feel like I've been on so many shows this past week on the Black College Sports Network, which is normally not my thing. I mean, normally I let Drew do that. Drew's usually the one who's on every show on the Black College Sports Network, but I've been on Doc's show. I love being on here with you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be talking with the guys, Kelvin and Marcus, along with Carlos Brown. We're gonna be on the Golden Boot a little bit later tonight, talking about FAMU and Southern, getting ready for that. So we kind of get our first little taste of Southern, who I consider a rival. I think we would all consider Southern one of our core. If we had core four rivals, I think Southern falls into that core four. Might even be that core three, top three. But so that's where I'll be. And like I said, Sunday night we do the BCSN Sports Wrap, and I try to talk about all HBCU sports. I try to take off my FAMU hat. It's hard these days because everybody wants to talk about us. We're right now, we're the cream that goes in the coffee. We're the cream that goes in the coffee. We keep everybody talking, man. Nobody brings up and talks about and has more drama in Black college athletics than us. I don't know what it is and why it is, because there's got to be some drama going on at other HBCUs, but I guess I don't know, but it's us, man. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm doing what I love, man. It's fun, and so
cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's just much easier. It's much easier to jump on FAMU and pick on FAMU.
It is.
So we're so good that everybody takes joy in picking at our flaws.
Yeah, because they can't get us on the field and the court.
No,
we get them out there. Thank God for all this. That's why we got to keep pumping up our student athletes, man. We got to keep heaping praise and talking about. We got some amazing young people representing our university on the fields and courts, and they're being led by some great coaches, some great men and women. And man, I'm sure I'm speaking for you, all three of you. And every chance I get to talk to one of these coaches, man, I just can't help but smile and be happy that they're at our school.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I agree wholeheartedly, man, wholeheartedly. So I didn't want folks to be like, man, Brian done dropped off. And I was like, I saw the time coming. So I wanted to make sure, Brian got to make sure he shared with y'all, man. And look, they ask about the 220, Vaughn, any news, any news you can share. Me, I don't break news, I share news.
The people in the 220 are reorganizing, but moving forward. So we've had already raised the money for the cooling chamber, so that'll be arriving the middle of July. So that'll be ready. We continue to support the nutrition station, which is very important. Coach Cole Forney told me, listen, you all are our lifeline on this, and that nutrition is a big key in our guys being ready. So we've maintained that and got those things under control. We didn't want to bombard Mrs. Jackson too fast, but at the same time, we knew now is the time where a lot of things get in motion. So we're going to meet again soon. The first one will probably be a tribute show to Eddie Jackson. I mean, they just don't come any better. I mean, there were times over the last month of his life where we were like, Mr. Jackson, don't come to the meeting. Just, we could see he was weak. Some of the last sessions, he never stood up. He just had to sit down when he got there.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down, Mr. Jackson. You've done a great job. And what he did was unprecedented, man. It's just, you just don't have that kind of group supporting that doesn't have an official affiliation with the university. There was no official affiliation with the university. But I think the fact that people knew and know when you send a dime to the 220 quarterback club, you're going to see where that dime went. The coach is going to tell you where that dime went. The student athlete's going to tell you where that dime went. The athletic director, the president going to tell you where the dime went. So we will be back in stride real soon in the middle of the month, getting ready to supply all of our teams what they need. We got to make sure Bridget Gordon has what she needs. Great coach. We gotta help her get over the hump. I'm just so excited about her. Listen, I'm like Brian. We got great coaching staff. Great coaching staff. From your Shoops to your Mike Rice to your Camise Patterson. I mean, Coach Ellenwood. Oh gosh, I done went too far, Coach Jokon.
we got it right. I mean, they ain't but look, I think how many sports we got? Like 4. I think we got it right.
I think when you say Garfield, you say about 4 or 5 of them with Coach Ellenwood. So
don't forget about Coach Nikki. Don't forget about Coach Nikki.
Oh, my girl, Coach Nikki. Yeah, absolutely, Hall of Famer. I mean, it's a great coaching staff that you want to support. And that's great for our student athletes because they're all great mentors to those students. And I got to go back to ONG Strike Zone last night one more time. When you got Kelvin Dean up there talking, and it's like, God, this is what represents FAMU. I cannot stress how you want to do for student athletes like that. You want to, and so with what you all were talking about, the transfer portal and why some kids come here. He said, I wasn't looking for NIL. I was wanted to come to a place where I felt like family and that I could play and that we could win. Well, FAMU provided him with all of that. And it provided him the opportunity on the biggest stage to show how bad he was, in the Celebration Bowl. So that's what we have going for us now. And that's one of the things that will continue to attract those transfer portal players. Some of them are looking for money, no question. But some of them want to play. And I can tell you by Kayvon Thibodeau that plays for
the Giants now.
The Giants now. Yeah. Willie brought him on campus for a visit.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so when he came out of high school, he was supposed to come to FAMU for 2 hours and then go to Florida State. But just so happens when he came to FAMU, there was a pep rally going on.
Ooh.
It ain't nothing like
Florida State people blowing his phone up. He like, dude, I'll be there after a while. He's taking pictures with his phone. He could not believe, he had the time of his life. But what that did is, if he had any trouble at Oregon, and he was planning to stay in college, we'd have had a great chance at that kid.
Yep.
And that's what FAMU does. That's what the environment of the FAMU League is.
Yeah.
We had some kids come in on set Friday and missed the second half of what they were supposed to be doing on campus because they were not leaving that set Friday. So you wonder why FAMU can get these kids to transfer. When they bring them in and they go to set Friday, it's over. I think set Friday is probably undefeated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I purposely chose. I wanted all of y'all on the show, and honestly, I wanted cousin Kelvin. Brian, I'll talk to you later. I got to get cuz number. We talked about other things, but I purposely wanted people who somewhat I feel are gatekeepers for our FAMU. Gerald is a FAMU student. If y'all don't know this brother, look, Gerald, you need to drop your cash app, let folks know so they can donate. We know this brother works for the Democrat, but he's still a college student. He's paying FAMU prices. But he needs to know. Look, the FAMU is different. We brag different, but part of us bragging is don't be surprised you get slipped. Look, let me know your shirt size. That's all I got to say. You might get you a nice black and gold shirt out of me. But part of it is excellence with caring, and I've heard others listen and other pundits talk about how they felt somewhat, but this is part of why we are here. We are here to, one, stand at the gates, because you have people who work with the Alumni Association and the boosters with myself. You have people who work with the Democrat and who are at the 220 Club meetings. You have people like Brian. Brian is like everything. Brian does broadcasting. Brian is the reason I do statistics a lot of times. And he's the plug that got me on. And Brian is in a lot of places, and he helps a lot of children, even though Brian is a father to kids who ain't his a lot of times. And, like, you have men, Yvonne, like, who literally we live and die FAMU because of what FAMU has done for us. Some of us would not be here if not for FAMU.
Yeah.
And I can speak for myself. My daughter and I would not be in existence if not for FAMU. But it's the important part of having men and women who want to gatekeep and who want to make sure that we tell y'all the excellence with caring piece is the FAMU experience. The FAMU experience is more than just you being on scholarship and this, that, and the third. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel some type of way about some of what happened, but I got both sides of it too. But we also have to make sure that we're sharing with you the FAMU experience so that you're getting the FAMU experience from people who went to FAMU, but that have also been exposed to other things outside of FAMU, and they're gonna give you the real. Like, yeah, there's a FAMU financial aid situation like a lot of HBCUs? Absolutely. But do you want to know the real reason why so many of our HBCUs have a effed up financial aid situation? A lot of times we pay more than the white schools. I used to work at Florida State in financial aid. I made $20,000. FAMU was paying like 30, 40. They had a staff of like 9 people. We had a staff of 100. FAMU was treating their folks better financially, but it kind of was what it was. So it's just sometimes we are still asking our folks to wear too many hats and do so many things. But a lot of these people that you see on campus, that work in these offices, they genuinely love this university, love this place, and they're willing to take a haircut or a pay cut or work some extra hours and not get compensated for it. Because I want to tell you, if you work extra hours or you buy a microphone for FAMU, you just bought a microphone for FAMU. You might get a check back, you might not. I kid y'all not. My boss was a white lady, and she was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna let you know, if you stay here extra or you buy something for FAMU, you just might as well consider that a gift. You donated to FAMU." And many days at the Challenger Center, hey, I got paid for stuff, but there were also many a day where it's Sunday morning. Hey, I'm going there, I'm opening it up, and I'm gonna make sure FAMU gets this money. And I love FAMU that much though. It wasn't a problem, it was love. And so part of what we're just wanting y'all to see and represent is, one, FAMU is on the cusp. We are that school that is revolutionary, because in all the bad that you're hearing about, hey, the law school and all these other things, go back and listen to it. That white man sat up there and said, "We want to congratulate FAMU as being the #1 public HBCU. Hey, y'all got some things right. Y'all dropped from a 78 to a 72. What's your plan?" And Dr. Robinson gave his plan and said, looking at the data, y'all looking like y'all gonna be back to where y'all supposed to be at. Now we got to get these test scores right and some of these other things right. But as much as we talk about, and AD Sykes, you catch a belt many a day, and it's oftentimes it's deserved. But at the same point, you just heard us give you the other side of the pat on the back. We ain't just gonna beat you. We're gonna love on you too. Thank you for helping Kelvin Dean. They did talk about Eddie Jackson. Do you know who was the first person when it was announced that, hey, his booster membership wasn't lifetime yet, who said I'll pay for it? It was AD Sykes. And so, yeah, we're gonna criticize you because we FAMU. FAMU is a tough place. We love hard and we whoop hard too. But once you finish getting your hazings, we're gonna love you up. So y'all can see, look, 4 Rattler gentlemen, 3 graduates, and 1 soon to be FAMU graduate. Look, I'm telling you, Gerald, make sure graduation day, drop that cash app, text me your shirt size. I will make sure first home game I try to have a alpha shirt for you. If you don't know, he's one of the ice cold brothers over there. But we really want to make sure, and Vaughn does this, these are people who are careful. They protect our students. Gerald does not tell y'all. Gerald protects our students. He does interviews with them, and I love hearing, you should hear him talk about his experience with Xavier Smith. And kind of, Xavier had a shell. Xavier Smith ain't talked to everybody. But
Right.
Vaughn and Gerald, look, they could get him to talk. And finally, he kind of talked to me a little bit, hey, what's up? But Gerald, these brothers do a lot to make sure that we all try to put FAMU in the best light. And yeah, we come over here, we joke, we're going to crack jokes, and when stuff's wrong, we're going to talk about it. But when it's right, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to try to do our best to protect Mother FAMU at all times. Any closing thoughts, y'all brothers? Oh, I'm sorry. Look, y'all know I got to make sure that I let my people know we gatekeepers around here.
Well, if anybody has any donations to go to the 220 Quarterback Club, it's 220qbclub.com. That's how you can donate to the 220 Quarterback Club, because we've got to continue to prepare our teams, our student athletes for success on the field and off the field. Some of the nutrition, as I found out, the kids that don't stay on campus, who don't have meal plans, sometimes they may run a little short during the month, and then we're able to provide them with nutrition, not just to be able to play, nutrition to live, to be able to go to class, in off season. So that's why we have to maintain the nutrition, even in the off seasons when our student athletes are not playing. And Brian, we appreciate you, brother, and we certainly understand. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
But
all right, guys.
Yep.
Okay,
all right, Brian. No, you gotta cut out. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Be well.
Okay. But yeah, just like we have to support these student athletes, not only when they're in season, but year round, to make sure that they can continue to be successful in school. Not every kid at FAMU has a full-time job like Gerald. They can't. They can't. They're student athletes. They got responsibilities. So, and with the rules that they can't work, and we don't have NIL deals like that. So we got to make sure we continue to support our student athletes, support our coaches who guide the student athletes, support the department in general so that they can provide for our student athletes the best experience that we can, because they're our best recruiters. Mm-hmm. Make no doubt about it. They're the best recruiters we have. When their mom and parents can say, "Man, we enjoyed our time at FAMU." When those students, when they become alums and they're out and they're the coach at a certain high school, they're gonna say, "Oh, you need to go to FAMU." So you got to make sure that those student athletes have a great experience, as great an experience as they can while they're at FAMU.
I agree. And one of the things, let me see if I can get it up here, because Vaughn mentioned it. But 220 and the boosters work together. So the boosters just delivered some muscle milk, and whatnot. But look, this is the website for the 220 Quarterback Club. Strike meter. We're trying to get to the mill. We're trying to get into 1 million. So come over here, check them out. It is 220, the number 220 QBclub.com. So come check it out, support. And like I said, Rattler Boosters delivered a pallet of muscle milk last week. 220 is coming right behind them. So these groups are not in competition. They're working in unison.
No, absolutely not. That's what I'm glad you said that, man. Competition is not how we got to where we are. Working together, and that includes the Rattler Boosters. I put them as the head because they are the official DSO responsible for raising funds for athletics. You got them. You got the FAMU National Alumni Association, who partners with us pretty much all the time. Then you got the 220 Quarterback Club, and you got the National Rattler of Club. Those groups combine to help provide our student athletes, coaches, and administrators what they need. So you're exactly right. There is no competition. We all orange and green.
Yep. And I'm gonna take y'all behind the thing. And I know Jared, I saw Jared got a comment. If you want to catch AD Sykes' comments and what she's having to say, join the boosters. Become a booster booster member. And it's not me trying to sell you something that I'm not using. I'm a booster member, about to renew in probably a couple weeks, maybe next month. But a lot of times she does go into the booster meeting and tell y'all what's going on. Same thing, the 220 meetings. Like, some of the reasons some of us are missing some of this content is because you're not in the right room. You need to be in a room where it happens.
I agree with you.
But you got that Gerald. Look, Gerald all wavy too, man. Look, I'm telling you, look, I can't keep up with Gerald the waves. He got me.
But no, I was just to piggyback on what Mr. Vaughn was saying. I mean, it's been a wonderful experience. Working around the university. And like you said, the student athletes are the biggest recruiters. My family came to their first FAMU football game during the SWAT championship, and then when you think about the SWAT championship and how much it was raining outside, you'll think, they didn't have a good time, but they still talk about it to this day. I guess that adds to the memory of it. Like, remember you had us come to that game and it was pouring down, raining and things like that. So, my little brother, I got a 10-year-old little brother. He still talks about it. He like, man, I might go to school there one day or something. So I tell him, I say, make sure you keep them grades up because they ain't gonna let you in if you ain't got them grades up. Just that thing. Even like I called my grandfather a few weeks ago and told him Happy Father's Day. Right after he said thank you, he said, "Well, hey, when them tickets go on sale?" And I was like, "I think they're on sale right now." I was like, "What game you want to go to?" He was like, he an older guy, so he said, "Any game that's not homecoming." So I was like, "All right, cool." I said, "Well, come to the FAMU and Southern game because FAMU Southern, that's personally my favorite matchup every year, because it gives you a homecoming environment without the hustle and bustle of homecoming." You know what I mean? So it just been a very good experience here. I look forward. I'm going to season 3 this year under a new regime. I appreciate all the access that Coach Willie Simmons gave me, during his time here, and never told me no for an interview. Always was willing to talk whenever I needed something. No matter how early or how late I gave him a call, he always was able to give me something that I could use. So shout out to him, and also shout out to Coach Colzie. He's going to do a very good job, and all the other coaches. I think I've gotten around to every coach at FAMU now. Took a little minute to get there, but it's just been a great experience, and I look forward to it. Going into season 3, everybody asks me if I'm gonna bring FAMU Hard Knocks back there in training camp. We just gonna have to wait and see, baby.
So, look, Gerald, let people know where to find you because we're gonna close out. Y'all know I don't keep y'all for no 2-3 hours. I try to get y'all in and out. And look, these brothers are very busy brothers. They charged it, not robbery, because I hit Vaughn late. I was supposed to hit Vaughn earlier, and it's summer school for me, so I'm working with kids. And today I was like, oh crap, I forgot to hit Vaughn yesterday. And Vaughn was like, yes. It wasn't even like I'll let Livy what time. So and I've known Vaughn for 20 some years almost.
You want to talk about the Rattlers? I wake up ready to talk about the Rattlers, man.
But Gerald, how can folks find you, man? Well, how can they follow you? How can they support you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm primarily on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. I call it the app formerly known as Twitter. um, but but yeah. So my name on Twitter is 3PG. That's the number 3, the letter P, the letter E, the letter A, the letter T, the letter G, the letter E, the letter E. You know, and I got the spelling down now. You know, I ain't getting all mixed up. But yeah, all my stuff, everything that I publish, it goes on Twitter. But if you want to go straight to the website, rattlernews.com is actually the website that takes you straight to the FAMU sports coverage on the Tallahassee Democrat. Or you can just search my name on the Tallahassee Democrat website, Gerald Thompson III, and I'll come up. Oh, and also, matter of fact, let me brag real quick. I'm at Google Me status now. I'm on Google Me status. So if you Google Gerald Thompson III, I should be the first person that come up, and you just click that link, and all of my latest coverage comes up. Even if I just jump in and do something that's non-FAMU related, and you just like my stuff that much, Google Gerald Thompson III, and my Tallahassee Democrat profile will be the first one that pops up. So that's how I do it. Like I said, I got another story coming out tomorrow featuring Coach Willie Simmons and others. You know, I'm not gonna get too much in detail, but you know, I think it'll be one that everybody enjoys. So I appreciate everybody for the support. And hey man, season 3 on the way.
Look, and just to give, I like to make sure I give people their flowers. Look, Gerald, when he's at the games, Gerald writes the story. Gerald takes the pictures, and sometimes he'll get some additional help. But this brother literally does so much work during the games. You sitting over there like, "What you want, man? I'm getting this article ready, man. It's gonna be done by the end of the game." And literally, we'll do the interviews, and by the next day, look, Gerald and I've literally I've left that brother at like 1, 2 in the morning, and woke up and the article was there. I was like, "Are you serious? I just saw you, and it's already published." So this brother works hard, man, and much appreciated, man. Thank you for what you do, man. You know, you've proven to be somebody I can call on and consider a friend. So definitely appreciate it, man. And look, Mr. Vaughn Wilson, look, the name says itself. I'm sorry. Look, let me fix this. FAMU Hall of Famer Vaughn Wilson. I had to put some respect on this man's name. Could you tell the people where they find you, and if they don't know, school them a little bit?
I am at HBCU game day, and I want everybody to look out for our new feature that we have. I worked really hard this spring. The goal was to interview every HBCU president in the state of Florida. So I interviewed Dr. Robinson at FAMU, went to Bethune-Cookman and interviewed interim president Barry, went to Edward Waters and interviewed Dr. Faison. And unfortunately, Florida Memorial had a change right while we were doing this, so we did not get Florida Memorial in. But that features the President Robinson will drop July 1st on HBCU Game Day on YouTube. It's a sit down to talk about the schools, and we also talked about athletics. But I think it's important that we don't forget the schools. The athletics team represents schools, so we were fortunate to have the access there. We went down to Bethune-Cookman and talked with Dr. Barry. And then I had a great time over in Jacksonville. After I got my ribs, I went over to Edward Waters and met with Dr. Faison, which was a great. Let me tell you about Edward Waters. Their facilities have come up past several D1 schools. The stadium is redone. He has a luxury box in the stadium. He actually has 2 levels of luxury box in the stadium. The city just helped them redo their their weight room and training room, and it is phenomenal. It was just being completed. So we have all of that, and talking with those presidents of the HBCUs. So that was important to me, not just to always be athletics, but to talk about HBCU culture. And we got a chance to talk to those leaders. So that's what I got coming up in July. And of course, I'll be getting started on my documentary with Billy Joe and Shine, and I just can't wait. There's so many stories about Shine. This is gonna have to be like a 5-part series, man, because people in Bethune keep coming out the woodworks with these Shine stories, man. It's gonna be fun. But to have him and Coach Billy Joe, to talk about that time between 1997 and 2004, where the Florida Classic averaged 68,500. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Man, look, and if y'all don't know, look, as I mentioned, Vaughn is in the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame. Like Vaughn don't throw his weight around a lot, but that name, it means something on that hill. Like I just say, player, SID, journalist. Like Vaughn's father was innovating stuff at FAMU. Like so, just and I ain't gonna lie. Look, you go in the English department, you're gonna see a picture of my aunt up there. Auntie Clara, happy birthday, Dr. Clara Hadley. She was a professor at Florida A&M University in the English department. Her photo is still up there, so she's still kicking. But look, y'all, just want to thank, and Brian just got off, so thank Brian as well. But look, thank y'all, you all. Look, we're gonna try to do this again in the fall. And I'm pretty sure all of us gonna be doing similar preseason stuff. So Vaughn, you the best one for setting it up. Look, we gotta figure out what.
Somebody said, did you say EWC welcomes help from the city? Yes, Edward Waters. It's not EWC anymore. It's Edward Waters University. That's one thing Dr. Faison was able to do. They have doctorate programs at Edward Waters now. So they are officially a university. Yes, and they got great help from the city of Jacksonville. Over $700,000 to help renovate and update their weight room and training facilities. And it looks great.
Yeah, if you haven't been to Jacksonville recently, I will give credit. We went there a few months ago for our stuff, and I came away impressed. You can tell they are trying to make the city look better. Like we all know, you grew up in Florida, you're like, it's Jacksonville, and now it's like he's trying to become a place that you go to. Like you see these Rattlers trying to get y'all to bring a classic over there at that new stadium. So we're gonna see.
At 1.4, what is it, 1.4 billion? Something like that now.
Yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie. I want that to happen. But look, y'all, I'm gonna let them go. We're gonna let y'all go. All right, y'all, for Herb Stewart of Black Techies. Look, for Vaughn Wilson from HBCU Game Day, Gerald Thomas III from the Tallahassee Democrat, and Brian Fulford and cousin Kelvin Rose, who was in the chats from the ONG Strike Zone. Y'all already know what's always gonna be. It's always gonna be Fangs up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started. Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Dorsey,